You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Every week we share helpful tips on where to put what, how to do this, that, and the other, and the best way to get your ducks in a row. And now here's your host, licensed therapist, head nerd, and productivity Yoda, Uriah Guilford.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the podcast. So glad you're here. We have some great tips to share with you today on an important topic, which is how to create a positive work culture. Thanks for joining me on this episode, Tricelle.
I'm happy to be here. I love this subject.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about often with productive therapists, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think, I don't think this is on my bucket list, but it needs to be, is to win an award for best place to work.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. What do we have to do? What's the criteria?
Honestly, I think you have to apply to it or something for local, and then I think there's other ones for maybe for nationwide or something like that. But
right.
I think that would be amazing, not just for the award, but for the feeling of creating a place where people love to be and they don't want to leave.
Right. Yeah. Let's try that. Okay.
I'm going to put that on the vision board.
Okay, good.
So this is something, I don't know exactly why, but it's always been important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's just a part of my personality that enjoys, I would almost call it hospitality, which is kind of an interesting way to think about it. But I I was actually just here in my counseling office yesterday, putting all new hardware. They call them cabinet pulls.
Yes, they do.
Which I learned on our drawers and cabinets in our kitchen. It didn't need to be done, but I was like, you know what? This is going to make it look updated. The therapists are going to like it. So small example, but creating a space for people to enjoy being in and also doing great work.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's important to me, not to cut you off there, but if you've ever been on the other side of that, where you have been in a negative workspace, you don't want to contribute to that. And if you have the option to create a workspace, creating a positive workspace is really, everybody enjoys it so much better.
Yeah, 100%. And this topic is obviously geared towards group practice owners, but anybody listening has likely worked in a nonprofit or in an agency. And some of them were amazing, with amazing leadership, not usually amazing spaces, offices.
Right.
My inspiration for creating my first private practice office was I want it to be exactly the opposite of what it was at the last place. Because, kind of like old couches, dirty carpets, musty smell, So that's another, interior design is another focus there. But
you wanted the Google environment where there was a chef and you could bring your dog to work and
that would be cool.
Ping pong tables.
Exactly. But I think some of the reasons why this is important to me is because I personally want to like the place that I work and the people I work with.
Right.
So that's key. And then I really do get a lot of enjoyment out of giving therapists the space to do great work and then also grow professionally. That's meaningful to me. That's kind of one of my personal mission statements, if you will.
Right.
And then from an employee retention standpoint, I want to keep amazing therapists happy. I want to keep them here and I want to keep them doing what they do best.
Right.
And I haven't read this book yet, but it's on my list. It's called The Customer Comes Second, which is all about taking care of your employees because they are the people, they're the ones that take care of the customers / clients, right?
Right.
And I just know if my therapists are thrilled and if they're happy and they're going to do better work and they're going to treat our therapy clients as VIPs and it's going to be a virtuous cycle, right?
Yes.
Win-win.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is touch on briefly the 5 big reasons that people stay in a group practice. And then if people actually want more details and helpful tips, they can read the full blog post. So we'll do sort of an overview. And if these are interesting to you and you want to kind of dig into it, we've got some more details there. Link is in the show notes. So years ago, I had this great mentor and I was in a year-long sort of mastermind and we learned a bunch of things. And one of them was this concept of 3 reasons why people stay in a group practice. And I took that and sort of adapted it. But those 3 reasons were money, so finances, training, and community. And then I actually updated it and added leadership and structure because I think those are also pretty key and they're not quite addressed by the first 3.
Right.
So the first one on the list here is money. And I'll also tag on benefits because the compensation, depending on the structure of the group practice, If it's a group practice with independent contractors, it's really truly just about the pay. But then with W-2 employees, there's usually some benefits added to that as well.
Right.
And I will say, though, before jumping into this one, that different aspects on this list, different things are more important to different people, right?
That's true.
Some people really are driven by making as much money as they can, which there's nothing wrong with that. I certainly have always been that way because of supporting my family. Other therapists are really hungry to grow and learn and get more training. And I love that. And then other people are just extra social and want that community aspect of being in a group practice.
Right.
And I think it's fair to say that everybody benefits from good leadership and some predictable structure and systems, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So money is the first one on the list here. And I think a couple of things I'll mention here is that it's important to pay a fair and competitive wage, if you will.
Right,
the compensation needs to be good enough to attract A players. But the mistake that I see a lot of therapists make is they pay too much. And so out of sort of this big-heartedness of wanting to take care of their employees, right?
Right.
And then they end up realizing that they could have made more if they had a solo practice, which is kind of a bummer because you don't want to work more and make less, right?
Right. And if you start out too high, where can you go from there?
It's true. Yeah. So there's a lot we could dig into and say about money and benefits, but I think the important thing here, besides not paying your therapist too much, is that you want to set this up in such a way that people feel valued for their time and effort.
Right.
And that's true in any job, right? And you know it if you feel like what you're being compensated for feels fair and feels good. And we've all had the experience of not having that be the case. Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. And I'll tag this on too. One of the reasons why I switched from independent contractors to W-2s, not just because California is a dangerous place to be an employer,
right?
But also because I wanted to be able to provide more benefits, from the paid time off to the sick time to retirement matching, those kind of things. And those are also things that I provide to our virtual assistants through Productive Therapist. And that just feels good to me to be able to do that.
Right. And speaking for myself, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the rest of the virtual assistants, that we appreciate it because you don't get that everywhere. And it does add into the monetary benefit, even though you're not receiving tangible money, it definitely is a benefit. So I'm glad that you added money and benefits together.
Yeah. So that's important. That's number one. Second one is training and professional development. I think almost everybody, even if they're not super motivated by this, want to feel some progression in their life,
right,
and their career. And obviously with therapists, we have this built in where we're required to get continuing education. But the group practice can provide some pathways to meet this goal. And that can be a continuing education stipend, which is something I do, like provide a certain amount of money per year for people to get those CEUs. We also do we haven't done it in a while, obviously, since the pandemic, but in-house trainings where we bring in local experts to actually train us and talk to us about certain topics to advance our skills. And then we also try to get the therapists that are here in the group practice to share with others in our meetings and train each other on their specialty areas.
It's a great idea.
Which, I mean, who doesn't like to be highlighted and valued for what they have already, like the knowledge and experience that they've already gained?
Right.
Yeah.
They should love to share that. And it's a great use of the skill, the knowledge that you have at your fingertips to have them share that with each other.
It would be a loss not to take advantage of that. Yeah,
definitely.
And we do that with productive therapists as well, where we have sort of unofficial subject matter experts, if you will. That's what they call it. Right? Like, I think you probably know the most about Pinterest marketing of anybody. So like, you're the go-to person if that's what we're looking for. Right?
Right.
I guess we should have you do a training on that, shouldn't we?
I probably so.
That would be great. So that's training and professional development. And keep an eye out for those people on your team who seem particularly interested in this, and make sure that you're doing enough to meet those needs. Right now, we're going to take a quick minute to hear about this episode's sponsor. This episode has been sponsored by Simple Practice, the leading practice management platform for private practitioners everywhere. More than 75,000 professionals use Simple Practice to power telehealth sessions, schedule appointments, file insurance claims, communicate with clients, and so much more. It truly is an all-in-one HIPAA-compliant platform. Get your first 2 months of Simple Practice for the price of one when you sign up for an account today. This exclusive offer is valid for new customers only, and you can go to simplepractice.com/productive therapist to learn more. Okay, we're back. So the first two things we talked about were money and benefits, and then training and professional development. Next one is community. So before we jump into some of the tips on this for group practices, how do we create community and foster that within productive therapists?
Well, it seems like it might be a challenge, and it is different because we all work remotely, but I think our staff meetings are one of the things that, we made them a requirement, but I think everybody's really benefited from that. At least we get to see each other's face, every other week. So that's nice. We do something that originally I didn't think would have as big of an impact as it has. We have a weekly question that we ask, and we have a group chat where everybody can reply with their answer. And I think it really tells you a lot about each other that you might not know if you just came out and asked somebody a question directly. So I think that has been a really great way to kind of foster community.
Definitely. That's been fun. And you've come up with some good questions in there, actually, that have prompted some things that people wouldn't normally share.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like that one was about, what was it? Something about the worst meal you've ever made, or some sort of cooking disaster. I thought that was good.
But then, and it goes even further sometimes than you realize, like the one that we had about which fashion trend you never want to see again. And you innocuously said you hate tie-dye. And
goodness.
One of our team members said, hey, behind your back, you didn't know this. On our next meeting, let's all wear tie-dye. And we did that. So, if that doesn't foster community, I don't know what does.
Yeah. So funny. That was a great moment.
It was good.
So there's so much to say about community, and a lot has been said and written about culture, but everything that you can do, and again, read the blog post, there's some specific tips on this one, but anything you can do to make sure to promote and protect positive work community, and also on the flip side, deal with either toxic staff members or bad behavior, those kind of things. Nothing can ruin a community or a culture more than bad behavior that's not dealt with, right?
Right.
And then, of course, in this world of work from home and virtual work that we're probably all still doing to some degree, even if it's hybrid, make sure that you continue to use the software and tools that you've got at your fingertips to create fun connection opportunities. We haven't done it in a while, but we did last year, some with the therapist, that is. We did some game nights. We did some virtual happy hours until people were completely done with video calls. And then we were like, we're not going to make this. We're not going to make you do this anymore. But those kind of things can be fun to do. And then next up is leadership. And again, obviously, all of these are huge topics and categories, but I added leadership because it definitely occurred to me, and I've read about this, but people don't leave jobs; they leave managers. So if the leadership is lacking or struggling in some area, that's going to lead to worse employee retention, more unhappy employees, and then kind of everything can go downhill from there. So big part of leadership, obviously, is establishing vision and communicating the mission statement. And one of the things that's important to me too, along with that, is something that's sometimes called servant leadership. And I think I try to embody that, at least. You do. Obviously, I am the owner of the business 100%, and I am the main leader. Although, fortunately, I have you and Jamie to help me too. Thank goodness. But my goal is to really look out for everybody and to lead in such a way that it benefits everybody's lives, personal and professional. And again, it's the same idea of taking care of the staff so they can take care of the clients in productive therapist sense, our members. And that needs to come from a genuine place of caring. And people know if your therapist and your admin team know if you really care about them, or if you've got other priorities that are more important than their well-being. Right.
And it's human nature. We like to be a part of something, and you have to have somebody lead to do that. And as a servant leader, which I would absolutely say that you are, then you lead by example. And then we start to take that same servant leadership where we're making sure we're checking in on each other. Personally, the team, how is the team doing? And then that translates into how we take care of the members that we serve, and then the clients that we are scheduling for the practice.
Absolutely. It all comes down from the top.
Yes, it does. Good or bad.
Oh my gosh, I've grown so much in this area. I used to dread the idea of ever being a boss and pre-group practice. And the last thing I ever wanted to imagine myself as was a leader for some reason, right?
Right.
I think it just felt scary to put myself out there as somebody who knows things and can guide the ship, so to speak. But now I've figured out a way to do that feels like I can just be myself and live that out. So I'm actually very proud of my journey in that respect. It's been pretty cool. And the last thing, because you can have all these things dialed in. So you can have a pretty good compensation package. You can have good training and professional development opportunities, a decent community culture, and pretty good leadership. But if you don't have structure and systems, things can kind of fall apart, right? And I know this is what a lot of group practice owners right now are working on. Certainly the people that I'm working on in one-on-one coaching and in group coaching. Building the policies and procedures and the workflows, if you will, that make everything run smoother. It's not always our forte, like our strong suit, you know?
Right.
Usually therapists are good at connecting with people, with like listening and understanding. And we do probably community oftentimes better than maybe systems. But this is pretty key. And this is something that we help therapists with all the time, right?
Yeah. And there's such a big return on your investment. I mean, yes, it does take time to get this stuff set up, but once it's done, it's going to change your life. It's going to make everything run so much more smoothly.
It's true. Yeah. And one of the things we just created recently that we haven't even really announced yet is this startup package where we are helping mostly group practice owners, but we certainly could do this with solo practices, but we help them dial in all the systems that they need on a fundamental level to have a good foundation, the technology, the documented processes, and all those kinds of things. So we're just starting to do that. I mean, we've been doing it for a long time, to be honest, but we just started offering it as a proper sort of package that people can purchase.
Yes.
And you're right. Once you put in the time and effort to build these things, it serves you for a long time. And then you just need to make little changes as you go along. Right. And there's another blog post on the site from my friend Casey Compton, who is the master, the queen, if you will, of systems. And she literally has a program called Systemizer School. It's pretty great. But she wrote a blog post for us called How to Create Systems from Scratch. So definitely go check that out. This is not something, I'm an organized person and I like, building out things that are structured, but it usually feels like a lot of work to me. And I'm currently working on some of these projects and having to force myself to to put in the time and effort, but the payoff is great. So there you go. Here's a quick recap of 5 reasons that people stay in a group practice. You've got money and benefits, training and professional development, community, leadership, and structure and systems. So my simple encouragement here would be to pick one of these areas, and you probably already know just from listening to us talk about this, pick one of these areas that you know needs work, and then just write down the top number, like the number 1 or 2 things that you can do to make a positive change. And I think that intentional focus will help you for the time being. Awesome. Thanks for having this conversation with me.
All right. We'll talk to you again.
All right. Bye, everybody.